All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Yeah.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is October 18th, 10:02 on the East Coast. I am your host, Craig Campbell of the ASAP in the Morning Show, and I'm waiting on Ray and Chris. They will be joining us very shortly here in the next few minutes. So while we're getting them squared away, I want to tell you about All Sports, All Plays Network. We are live this morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And you can find us on all those platforms. On YouTube at ASAP Sports Network, on Facebook at All Sports, All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. Hit the like, hit the comment, the share, subscribe button. We've got some goals that we're trying to hit for each of these platforms. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs on YouTube. We're just over 3,500 likes on Facebook and 9,000 follows on Facebook as well. So definitely check us out there. Got a lot of great content on the show, or on the network, rather. We got a lot of good stuff that we want to talk about this morning. I'm coming off a fantastic weekend. Way too short of a weekend. Went by really quickly. I got married this weekend on Sunday. Yep, that finally happened. But it was an amazing weekend. A lot of family coming into town over the last few days, and it goes by quick, man. It really does. It was a lot of fun. But let me know in the comments below where you're watching from this morning and what you thought about last night's Monday night game, which we're going to talk about that as soon as the rest of the guys are able to join us. And we're going to talk about the NBA opening night happening. We've got MLB playoffs that we've got to catch you up on as well. But that's what we're looking forward to today on All Sports, All Plays, ASAP in the morning. So let me know in the comments below how you're doing this morning. I'm just getting things warmed up. This is going to be great. And speak of the devil, there he is, Ray Cruz, joining us this morning. What's going on, Ray?
Not much. Finally got my darn computer back up and running. Trying to put the TV programs over on the international side overnight and come back. My computer runs slow, so I had to do a little bit of adjustment, turn it off, turn it back on. So,
yeah, that technology doesn't always like to cooperate with us, but Ray does some amazing stuff. One of the big things, he handles a lot of stuff for the network. He handles a lot of different stuff. So we're definitely happy to have him a part of the morning show today. But yeah, just checking in on your weekend, how everything went. And I know I've been gone. I was gone yesterday, all weekend as well. A lot of fun stuff, but we got a lot of great stuff to talk about today.
How was your wedding?
It was good, man. The wedding was great. It went by in the snap of a finger, it seems like. But it was really good. Lots of family came in town. It was a lot of fun. Got a chance to see some people I hadn't seen in a little while, and it was great. It was a great weekend. Everything went really well. The weather was beautiful. Yeah, it was phenomenal.
That's good. That's good.
Absolutely. It was great. All right. Let's see. So like I said, the first couple things that we want to talk about this morning, we have and you can tell we're kind of just getting settled in here, but let us know how you're doing this morning. And talking about the weekend. I know college football is another thing we want to talk a little bit about today. Some huge games last weekend. But I guess let's start with the Monday night game. Last night, Chargers Broncos 19-16 in overtime. Chargers march down the field, get a game-winning field goal, and it was 10-10 after the first quarter, and then it just seemed like everything grinded to a halt in that Monday night game.
Yeah. To me, if you look at the way Denver plays, don't that game just look like it's just trash? It's just like they're playing these kind of football. They play ugly football.
They do.
And then what was it? What was all the Denver fans saying? They were just a quarterback away. They got a quarterback. They got a quarterback now.
Found this on the web.
You know, the Siri again.
Siri's trying to join in on the show too.
But doesn't it just seem like that they play like ugly football? You know about those times that the Navy and the Army ran the triple option, but they're not even running the triple option. They still trying to play forward football, but they just look. I mean, defense played good, but their offense is like trash.
Yeah,
and they said they were a quarterback away.
Yeah, it just makes you wonder. You know, it's like I know they had the change it. The coach having Nathaniel Hackett, you know, making the play calls, but when you had a team like they had last year, when you had a revolving door of quarterbacks, and they still were able to move the ball down the field, their defense was stout, and coming into this year, you know, the division, a lot of people talking about this is going to be one of the hardest divisions in football. And through 6 weeks now, it doesn't look like that. You know, you got Denver looks like a mess on offense. Russell Wilson was only 15 to 28, 188 yards and a touchdown. I don't think it's too far to say that Russell Wilson is having the worst season of his career.
Now, to me, they say they're a quarterback away now. What's this year going to be? They're a coach away now?
Right. There's always that adjustment period when you've got a new coach, get a new scheme to listen to watch and to learn. And when you have that new scheme, there's obviously going to be some bumps in the road, but you can take that, turn around and look at what Brian Dable's doing in New York, and they're off to a 5-1 start. So you can't, you know, and we're on the same page here. You can't, as a Denver fan, you say, okay, we're a quarterback away, and then you come in and your offense looks horrible, and you bring in one of the quarterbacks that is considered by a lot of people to be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, and you bring him in, plug him in and play, and you look worse than last year by a lot. Some of that could be the game plan, play calling, but at some point, there's a meme that I saw last night where it's legit. It's a collage of Russell Wilson looking on one side of the field. And he's got a receiver wide open in front of him or to the right of him. It makes you wonder.
But see, Russell Wilson's skill set is he's not a pocket passer. He's a rollout passer. He's a thing, but they don't even roll him out much. They've been trying to make him. Nathaniel Hackett's trying to make him look like Aaron Rodgers back in the freaking pocket. Tell him to sit there. I don't think this is the right coaching scheme. I don't think it's the right coaching system for Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson should have gone somewhere that would utilize his talent a little bit more. You can't all put it on Russell Wilson. It's the coaching staff. It's the offensive coordinator. It's Nathaniel Hackett. It's play calling. I mean, who in the world? It goes all the way back to week 1 when they go out there and try out there and kick a 64-yard field goal. And ever since that 64-yard field goal, the season just gone downhill.
Yeah, to work properly here. Yeah, it just seems like from week 1, the Broncos have not been all on the same page, and that was a post-game press conference clip that was brought up last night. Is that Russell Wilson was asked the question about having a 2-4 start, all the expectations coming in. They're not playing up to those. Is there division in the locker room? And he's come out and said, no, we don't have division in our locker room. You guys saw how hard we played for each other. It didn't go our way, but everyone is fighting their butts off every day. The line, the receivers, the running backs, the defense, defensive line, the linebackers, and our safeties and corners. Everybody was playing for each other, and we felt like we could have won the game. So he feels like they don't have any division, unlike what some rumors and speculation have said otherwise. But you gotta wonder if they were quarterback away. Are they, like you said, now, are they just, is not the right coach? Are they what's kind of going on there that the Broncos just aren't living up to their expectations? And I think some of that is in part their expectations were a little too high to begin with. I think a lot of people looked at last year and saw that, okay, let's plug him in and let's plug in Russell Wilson into this offense and they should win the division. Well, pump the brakes a little bit. You still got two great other teams in here, the Chargers and the Chiefs, that you still have to overcome them before you can even consider talking about Super Bowl runs and division titles and everything. So I think the expectations were a little too high for the Broncos to begin with, but to come out and have a 2-4 start is obviously not the way Broncos fans were hoping the season would go through 6 weeks.
I mean, if you look at it this way, look at the game. They had both teams scored one touchdown apiece. They had a total of 7 total field goals between the two teams in this ball game. So the defense is not a problem. The problem is their offense is just trash. I mean, they made more field goals than they have touchdowns this year, the Denver Broncos.
And with Denver expecting to have that high-powered offense, they're not, like I said, they're obviously not playing up to those expectations.
And to me, with Nathaniel Hackett, he was here in Jacksonville, didn't like his offensive scheme, too much dinking and dunking down the thing, not really explosive plays. And he went to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers made him look good. Basically, that's just a fact. Aaron Rodgers made him look good. Yep. So now you got teams like that. I'd rather have the last year's coaching staff and put Russell Wilson with the team and see how that would have rolled.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far of a stretch. I mean, this the way that they were able to move the ball last year, like I said, with a revolving door at quarterback, you got to wonder and that's what makes things so hard in the NFL is not only do you have to have the right coaching staff, you have to have the right quarterback that sees eye to eye with the quarterback. So look at the Packers, for example. You got LaFleur and Rodgers as that pair. Now they've got a few other things, and that shows that because those two guys are still on the same page, you just have a lot more that goes into making a winning football team. You got to have the run game, the wide receivers, which the Packers don't have. You got a lot of those different things that need to come together in order to have a really successful football team. And you can look at the Buccaneers, another team. You had the way that Bowles and Brady are paired up compared to the way it was last year with when Bowles was just an assistant. This team definitely looks a lot different in 1 year, and that coach has a big imprint on that.
Yeah. It's just crazy. I mean, dude, you just look at it. I mean, the whole offseason, all I heard was some of the Bronco fans that I know of personally, not from this network, from other venues and stuff like that I hang around with in the military, because Jacksonville is a big naval town and they have a lot of fans, different fans for different things. So all I heard from my friends down in the naval base was, "Oh, we're a quarterback away." And then he fired the head coach. I said, "Well, now you're going to have to go get a head coach." When they hired Nathaniel Hackett, I said that's the worst mistake ever. I said, now you're going to be a quarterback. And then they got Russell Wilson. So now you're going to be a coach away. And they laughed at me. They said, no, Nathaniel Hackett's good. You see what he did with Green Bay? I said, no, I see what he did with Green Bay, but Aaron Rodgers and LaFleur made that team better because they didn't let him call all the plays.
And Nathaniel Hackett has shown, he's shown, you hit it right there on the head. Hackett has shown some inability to be able to dial up the right plays at the right times, looking back to Jacksonville. And part of that might have been the personnel they had on the field. But when you had Hackett, who struggled as a play caller in Jacksonville with that team and the way that offense was set up, you can blame some of that on them. But now in Denver, as the head coach, you have to wonder, like, was it really Jacksonville? Was it really their personnel that made that offense look so bad? Or was it the play calling of Hackett, which is now being shown in the national spotlight week in and week out, it seems like? I think Denver's had more considered primetime games than any other team in the NFL this year already. And that's not a good look.
It's trash. I mean,
it's not good.
Thursday night game was what, 9-6? This game was 16-19. And you talking about the Jacksonville day with Nathaniel Hackett. When you're a fan that's sitting in the stands, behind the visiting team's bench where I sit there and call it. When he was there, I was calling all the offensive plays. And the person beside me said, you got the headset on or something? Because everything you call and they run. I said, well, that's his predication. You round up the middle twice. You get ready to pass on third down. Oh, he throws a wide receiver screen on third down. It's just the way he sets up the plays, the way he sets up the calling. His offensive calling will work on the college level, but not the NFL level.
We've had that conversation here multiple times on the show. The difference between college and NFL. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Just for some thought here. Those of you that are tuning in right now on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch, the Broncos are second to last in the NFL through 6 weeks in points scored on offense. The only team that's worse than them, they only have 91 points scored. The only team that's worse is the Houston Texans at 86, but they've only played 5 games. Texans had a bye week this week.
Yeah.
So the other teams that are also in that conversation, the Bears have 93 points, then the Titans at 96 and Pittsburgh at 97. So those are all teams that we've talked about coming into the season of not having great offenses. And the Broncos are one of those teams. It's like, which of these is not like the other? But they've shown that having such a high-powered offense with Russell Wilson at the helm, they've scored the second least points on offense. Like, that's unfathomable for a lot of us on this network that have talked about in the season previews. I know Pride and I talked a month ago about where the Broncos were and going into our season previews, and Mike was in that conversation. You were in that conversation. We felt like the Broncos should be a lot better than they are right now, not just from a record standpoint. If they're like 5th or 6th in points scored and they're still 2-4, that's more along the lines, I think, of what we were expecting, because Russell Wilson was supposed to help jumpstart that offense and put them into overdrive, and they just haven't been able to do that.
Well, also the problem is you got Javon Williams, who got injured. He's out for the ACL. They were counting on him to be a big punch too. And, Melvin Gordon, he's got fumble problems. You can't really trust him until he stops fumbling the ball so much. He turned the ball over key points of certain games this year. And then you got to look at Nathaniel Hackett, the way he's calling the game. I mean, dude, You got NFL caliber players, and you're not letting Russell Wilson move around. You're not letting him do what he needs to do. Russell Wilson is a creative player. And what I mean by creative is he's more like a backyard football type player where he can roll out, make plays with his legs and his arms. And you send him in the pocket, he's not a pocket passer. You have to get him out in space. You have to get him out to where he can use his legs, his arms, and make him create the plays and have him audible out of plays. It looks like Nathaniel Hackett said, you can't audible out of certain plays. And they run that play, and that play is not effective. You got a Super Bowl quarterback who should be highly talented to call audibles when he needs to figure out what defense he's running. And to me, I think Nathaniel Hackett has just put a lot of stuff on him. And yeah, he's got to learn the new terminology. Everybody's got to learn new terminology and all the plays and stuff. But, dude, your field goal kicker is your best scorer. You can't win football games if your field goal kicker's got more points than your freaking any other players on the team.
Here's what I think is got to be the most concerning for Denver fans. And if you look at the stats, a lot of the stats don't lie. And if I look at where the Denver Broncos rank in different offensive categories, yards passing, they're 19th. Not great, not bad. But their yards per attempt also in that 15 to 20 range. They're also 18th in passing attempts. So it's not that they're not throwing the ball. It's just that they're not scoring points when need be. They're moving the ball at an average rate up and down the field. If you look at their rushing offense, same thing. That 15 to 20 range in attempts, yards per attempt. But what I see here is they're dead last in rushing touchdowns, and they're tied for fourth worst in passing touchdowns. So they're just not scoring. That tells me that their drives are stalling out, either when they get to the red zone or when they get just past the 50, and you're in that weird range where, do we kick the field goal? Do we try to go for it? So they've been moving the ball at like an average NFL team. They're just not scoring points. They're almost dead last in points. They're second to last in passing touchdowns. They're tied for last in rushing touchdowns. They're just not scoring points.
Dude, they had 10 penalties last night for 151 yards. That's more than a football field. You're starting on a second football field when you go 51 more yards. And penalties alone, and 10 penalties for that?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like they're turning the ball over a ton on offense either. There's only 3 interceptions by this team, which is tied for third best, least amount. But so it's not that they're turning the ball over a ton. They're not protecting Russell Wilson. They have the 6th most sacks in the NFL allowed on offense, and they're just not scoring points. That's got to be very concerning for a team that brought in Hackett because of his offensive capabilities, and you brought in Russell Wilson and you sold the farm, multiple players, multiple picks, gave him a big contract extension, and then now you're stuck with them either way. So now if you're really considering what move do we make next in Denver, you're not going to move on from Russell Wilson this quickly already at the end of the season. There is a very likely possibility. There's a very likely possibility that Nathaniel Hackett could be fired already after only 1 year in Denver.
Dude, look at this. Team stats. Jawad Williams, he hasn't played but 4 games this year. He got hurt in the 4th game. He had 47 attempts, 204 yards. Melvin Gordon has played 6 games, 55 attempts, 201 yards. And Williams still your leading rusher, and he hasn't played in 2 games.
Yeah, they've definitely changed their play calling a bit since Javonte Williams went down with that season-ending injury. But Melvin Gordon's, still he's not the same running back that he was a few years ago. So they're definitely changing up the play calling. They're mixing in Boone with some of their schemes. But Gordon's been their first and second down back. Not a great pass protector. So that's probably part of the reason why Boone's been getting some touches or getting some snaps, I should say, in the offense. But it's definitely different to have Williams out. You're losing a whole dynamic to their offense. And I don't know, you really got to wonder like what inside that locker room, what has to change? What has to change? Because right now you're not going to fire anybody. You're not going to demote anybody. Maybe you try to go make a trade for another weapon. But at that point, the way that they're already not utilizing the weapons they have, you have to wonder, what are they going to do? Is there going to be a change of who does play calling? That's something that's not uncommon. The head coach relieves the play calling duties to someone else. Maybe that's the way they go about it.
Hold your breath on that.
But they got to do something. They got to.
Look at the wide receiver. Corey Sutton, he's got 31 receptions, 49 targets, 431 yards. He's averaged 13.9. Judy's averaged 17.1, but he's been targeted 36 times. He's only caught 17 in 6 games. And then Hammer, he's 4 receptions for 7 targets, 109 yards, with 27.3 is his longest. So, to me, you're putting the pressure. And what is Russell Wilson thinking coming into the stadium, into the game? Oh, when I'm going to have to go hit the hot tub after the game. All the hits he takes. And then, he's only in 6 games, he's only completed 116 passes out of 198 attempts, 58.6%. And he's only got 1,442 yards.
Yeah, Chargers got 4 sacks on him last night. Tranquil had 2 of those sacks. But I wanted to clarify something I said a few minutes ago too. Latavius Murray was brought in a couple weeks ago as soon as Williams went down and was brought up. Didn't see a ton of snaps in his first game. He got the bulk of the carries in this game. 15 attempts for 66 yards. So they have changed their offense a bit with Williams going down, but Murray's now seems to be becoming that guy that they're going to use as their top running back for the rest of the season, because like I said, Melvin Gordon's not the same running back he used to be. He's a very situational back now. And Boone only got 1 carry the whole night. So it's they definitely don't feel super confident in having him on the field a ton either. But now that this game has completed, looking at the standings for not only the NFC West, but for the rest of the NFL, now you've got Denver's basically at the bottom looking up here. Vegas is the only team that's worse than them in the AFC West. Kansas City and the LA Chargers both at the top of that division at 4-2, which I don't think was a ton of surprise to anybody through 6 weeks.
If you look at the worst team in the AFC West is Denver and Las Vegas. They only 1 win separates both of them.
Yep.
At the bottom, but they both got 4 losses. But if you look in their division, Kansas City's 2-0, Chargers 2-1, 0-2, and then the Las Vegas Raiders 1-2 in that division against division teams.
Yep. So the Kansas City and the Chargers tied for the lead at 4-2 in the West. In the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans, as least talked about as they have been this year, are still leading the division at 3-2. Indy 3-2-1, still in the conversation again with as bad as their offense has been. That's I think a big shock to a lot of people is the fact that Indy's offense has been so bad, statistically speaking, but they still have a winning record, and they're still second in the division. Jacksonville's 2-4, and then Houston's 1-3-1. The NFC North, you've got two teams, Baltimore and Cincinnati, tied at 3-3, and then Cleveland, Pittsburgh are 2-2. Baltimore's been a big disappointment. They lost this weekend, very, I think, surprisingly, to the New York Giants. Lamar Jackson didn't really look that good in this game. It didn't really look all that great. Ton of credit to the Giants for putting a ton of pressure on Lamar Jackson in that offense. And they had a big win this weekend. And then Buffalo leading the AFC East 5-1. The Jets are 4-2, surprisingly. They handled the Packers this weekend on the road. Packers had won 15 straight home games, and that streak is now snapped. So the Jets are a big surprise this year early on. Miami and New England both 3-3 at the bottom of that division.
You got to think Miami because of Tua. Tua was playing good and they were winning. They got that 2 concussions. Now they've gone back to losing.
Yeah, it definitely has been I wouldn't say a big surprise, but it's definitely taken the wind out of their sails with the whole Tua situation, how poorly that was handled, but then also just the fact that you don't know if or when he's going to come back. Thankfully for him, he has started the next stage of that concussion protocol, I should say. He's doing light activities in practice. But that, kind of looking at how that team has really kind of taken a step back. But I mean, when you play a team like the Vikings, which they did this last weekend, they lost at home 24-16 against the Vikings. Bridgewater still didn't play that bad, 329 and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill still looked really good, 12 catches, 177 yards. But I mean, the Vikings are they're finding ways to win the game. They had 14 points in the fourth quarter. Miami's offense didn't really turn it on until the second half. They had 3 points through 3 quarters.
Yep.
And they scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. Oh, that's not what I'm supposed to do. All right, but other scores around the league, I should say. Bengals took down the Saints 30-26 on the road. Your Jaguars drop a game on the road to the aforementioned Colts 34-27.
I want to talk about that one.
No? Okay. I was going to say, being a Jaguar fan, let's talk about it, but it's all right. Patriots.
I only got one thing to say about this, and the Colts fans can agree with me on this, but the officiating crew that we had in that game, I don't know what they were calling. They called Jacksonville's pass interference. They called Colts pass interference. They let the offense get away with a lot of stuff on passes, especially when the Colts scored that touchdown. They do completely push our player down to the ground, and the referees were looking right at it. He extended his arm out. That's called pass interference. But throughout the game, they were calling all kinds of bad calls on both teams. I mean, how does Boger still an NFL referee? I don't understand, because his crew are the lowest rated referees in the game. And when you get games like this and you get all kinds of freaking stupid calls, I mean, dude, they called roughing the passer a couple times. It wasn't even roughing the passer. I mean, dude, these NFLs, I mean, I don't understand how they get these umpires and referees and how they grade them, because it seems like his crew, if you look at all the history through the NFL in the last year or two, Boger's crew is the lowest rated NFL crew at all times. That's the only thing I got to say. I know the Colts will agree with me too, because they have bad calls on the Colts too. And when they place the ball, and it's so funny, they're placing the ball and then it takes them a few seconds to play, and they don't pump and then and the referees make it slow. They got to pump the 25-second clock. They didn't even pump the 25-second clock. They get delayed game. I'm like, dude, you moved the ball like 3 times. And then you see Trevor Lawrence saying, hey, you need to pump the thing. And then he finally pumps it. After Trevor Lawrence and Matt Ryan say, hey, you need pump because you moved the ball.
Yeah, I know that's been a conversation we've had on this show a few times before as well, is the officiating crews this year are definitely struggling. That's I think a very very professional way to say it. They've been struggling big time. But that you still got to play the game, still got to, and you're going to have those things with the referees week in and week out, unfortunately. But
yeah, the Jaguars need to find out. They need to find a replacement for Shaquille Griffin. He's not a starting corner. I mean, he's a good corner, but he's not a starting corner. He's one of those corners you need to have come in there and relieve somebody, not start a full game. And he's getting burnt. This is the second game he's lost at that corner position. He lost the Commanders game. He lost the freaking this game. And then I go to the chat, and then I go to a chat room and said, oh, Trevor Lawrence lost his game. Trevor Lawrence was 20 out of 22. He did what the coaches told him to: hand the ball off, make the completions. He doesn't play defense. And then you get Trevon Walker, who hit the quarterback's arm and gets roughing the passer. Second week in a row, he's got a call roughing the passer. The first one was definitely one, but the second one, dude, unless he hit him in the helmet, but I mean that was the bang bang play, and he hit his arm, and they called him roughing the passer.
Yeah, they're going to call that. You got to be able to try to adjust, I guess. But like I said, the referees this year definitely struggled quite a bit. Multiple games we've come on the air and talked about how bad the officiating was in certain games, but hey, it's just, unfortunately, it's something the NFL is going to have to address at some point. Maybe they do, maybe they don't.
But they're going to have to address roughing the passer. They got to come up with some kind of common ground of who's roughing what passer, because there's so many games I watched this weekend that they got roughing the passer. They don't even look roughing the passer. And I commend ESPN. I don't commend ESPN a lot. I don't watch ESPN a lot, but I do commend them with this one. They took a video of Bradshaw when he was playing with the Steelers, getting killed, getting slammed, taking his head straight to the turf, showing that roughing the passer. And then they took one of the games they took where the guy just eased the guy to the ground, and they call roughing the passer.
Yeah, it's definitely a much different game. It's umpired a very different way than, I mean, you could take that with anything. Any sport has been officiated differently over the years because of how the game has evolved, how the players have evolved, how back then they didn't have a lot of research about concussions and all the injuries and stuff that guys have sustained because of how violent the game of football is. So it's definitely adjusted. I know a lot of those things wouldn't have flown then that, do now, vice versa. But it is what it is. But other scores around the league: Patriots took down the Browns on the road 38-15. Jets, we mentioned, they had a surprising win over the Packers 27-10. The Falcons at home upset win against the 49ers 28-14. I don't think a lot of people were very surprised there. I should say a lot of people, I think, were very surprised with this game. Atlanta's a team that not a lot of people were giving credit to them coming in, that, they were going to be a good team. They're in rebuild mode. They've got a new quarterback. They've gone in different directions in a few places. So that was a team that not a lot of people had high expectations for, but they played the Buccaneers very well up until the last few minutes of the game. Then they have an upset victory against the 49ers this weekend. So there's some building blocks there in Atlanta that they can be hopeful for sure. The Steelers had an upset victory at home.
Yeah,
you laughing about this one?
Yeah, Kenny Pickett got hurt, and Mitch Trubisky comes in and leads them to a victory.
Well, that was conversations we had before when we made the move to Kenny Pickett. It's what decision do you make there? Do you go with the young guy who your future's based on right now, or do you stick with Trubisky, who's still a team captain? But the Steelers, they had the lead. I watched part of this while I was getting ready for the wedding Sunday. It didn't look like Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense was on the same. They were not clicking whatsoever through most of this game. But the Steelers, give them credit. They stole a victory at home, 20-18. Trubisky came in relief of Pickett, who got hurt, and took him down and made the upset victory. So now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sitting at 3-3, which was not the record that I think a lot of people felt that they would have coming into, this early in the season when you're talking about previews and predictions. Another one that's a big surprise is the next game, Seahawks and Cardinals, the Battle of the Birds. Seahawks 19-9 over the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are now starting 2-4, which is a big surprise to many.
But they get their main person back. DeAndre Hopkins comes back next week.
Yep, DeAndre Hopkins comes back next week, and that's something that I got blasted for talking about this season, that the Cardinals were not going to get out the gate very quickly. We had a lot of conversations on the show with a few of our other personalities about the Cardinals won't be that bad. Well, they're not going out and winning games. And now you got next week, DeAndre Hopkins finally comes back from his suspension. And, look at that. Call of Duty comes out soon. So, there's going to be another game they'll drop because Kyler Murray is going to pay more attention to that than he will his film study. So I know it's disappointing for Arizona this year, but a lot of credit to the Seahawks, man. Geno Smith didn't have any touchdown passes. Kenneth Walker III finally got himself going. He was the leading rusher for the Seahawks, 97 yards and a touchdown. That was something they've been really looking for him to do since he finally became fully healthy, and he can actually get in the lineup. Rams took down the Panthers. Man, Panthers, everything for the Panthers is gone from bad to worse. Robbie Anderson got traded. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the Rams, 3-3 now. They improved to 3-3, 24-10, home win against the Panthers. And PJ Walker was the starting quarterback, and it was ugly for the Panthers all game. Not good.
Well, first of all, Robbie Anderson ain't an elite wide receiver. So first of all, he shouldn't go off tantrum to the head coach, because to me, he's not that A-list wide receiver that can do that. And then you got turmoil and all this, and you got the coaches fired, and you got this guy, going to end up being a distraction to the thing. I got to give Tapper a hand, because to me, to move him that quick, he must have been on the phone soon he kicked him off the field. He must have been on that phone with that team really quick and say, "Hey, look, you want him? You want the prima donna? Well, give it to you.
You can have him."
And that's what I think that deal was done before he even got. I think Tapper had that deal done before that fourth quarter ended, and soon the team got in there. He told him to clean his locker out, and you're gone. Because that story broke real quick.
It did. It feels like it came out really quickly. And we'll talk about more of that in a minute. Bills Chiefs, that was one of the two big high profile games that were a lot of eyes were paying attention to. And Holmes and Allen having their quarterback duel, and the Bills, hey, they march into Arrowhead, 24-20 victory on the road. A team that they have been trying to exercise that demon ever since last year. And then you're able to go in on the road and give yourself that confidence that if you have to see them again in the playoffs later this year, you have the confidence to know that you can beat them. And that's what they did on Sunday. Is they were able to go in. Stephon Diggs had a huge game, 10 catches, 148 yards, and a touchdown. But hey, credit to the Bills. They look like that's a freight train that is not slowing down right now in Buffalo. And then the last game, the only undefeated team left in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Cowboys 26-17 off of 20 points scored in the second quarter. And now the Cowboys sitting at 4-2. They're third in the division, sitting behind the Giants and the Eagles. And now Dak Prescott ready to come back from his injury. They got the Lions next week. So basically it's a tune-up game for the Cowboys to get Dak Prescott back into his rhythm.
Yeah, but it's going to take more than just one game getting back into this rhythm. Because the first game, usually when you come back from an injury, you got to test the injury. You got to get hit first. You got to do all this stuff to get his confidence. You probably see his confidence shaking the first two quarters. And maybe the third and fourth quarter, he gets the first two quarters out of the way. Maybe he'll settle down after halftime. So if I was Detroit, I'll find a way to jump on him quick and early. You know?
That's what something they've been really lacking in this year is being able to stop people from scoring. They have the worst scoring defense in the NFL through 5 weeks, and then you got to get to them early. That pass rush has still been developing, still a lot of growing pains, but they've still got a long way to go in that pass rush category.
I mean, Cooper Rush had what, 2 interceptions.
Yeah, he had a few turnovers this game. So that was, that's something a little uncharacteristic of him over the first few weeks as a starter. But that was also his first loss as a starter. So over the last, was it 6 starts? Yeah, 6 starts because they were 0-1 to start the season.
Oh, yeah, 3 interceptions. He was 18 for 38, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Jalen Hurts was 15 out of 25, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, but didn't turn the ball over. Elliott had 13 carries, 81 yards. He was running hard with the game, and then they took him out, and then the game started slowly getting away from him, and then he had to go away from him for a while. And Sanders had 18 carries, 71 yards. He just made enough to keep change moving around, what he does best. And then you had Lamb with 5 receptions, 68 for the Cowboys. And then you had A.J. Brown with 5 receptions, 67 yards, but 1 touchdown. So.
Yeah. It was definitely a wake-up call, I think, for the Cowboys, kind of where they stack up against the Eagles and the rest of the NFC East. So, seeing Dak Prescott come back in, we'll see what kind of dynamics change if they really adjust their play calling like we think they will, because it's definitely 2 different quarterbacks between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott as far as what their skill sets are and how they want to utilize it. But we'll see if they stick with the run game. We'll see if they open up the playbook more, and if they look like the Week 1 Cowboys again with Dak Prescott at the helm. I think Dallas fans have a lot to be concerned about then, if that's the case.
Yeah, true.
But all right. So CBS has their weekly power rankings come out this morning, and we talk about those on the show. So we'll start from the bottom. We got them right here, 32 to 26. 32 and 31, you got look at this guy. We got Pride joining us this morning. Good morning, Pride.
Beep boop.
He said beep boop.
Yeah, he heard us calling.
Pride's our neighborhood robot now.
Beep boop bop.
Beep boop bop. Well, jumping into these power rankings at the bottom, a lot of the usual suspects. I think the Panthers have been really, really struggling, not only with Matt Rule, but now that they got rid of, they've made that coaching change. And now it's the question is, do they sell off everything they have to try to just get more value, more picks. You know, what direction are they going to go as a franchise? They come in at the bottom. The Lions, the Bears, Commanders, and then Jaguars dropped a couple spots to go to 28. Texans 27, and the Steelers down to 26. Any surprises from this group, guys?
No.
No.
I feel like maybe you can kind of interchange some of them. You know, the Lions, I think you can make an argument that they could be a couple spots up, but in terms of like anything out, you know, like blasphemous or anything, I don't say anything crazy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I know the Lions have they've been able to score points, to be able to move the ball, but they've really struggled in stopping anybody. And it just, you know, when you get down early like that and then you have to come back, it doesn't really surprise me. A lot of these teams sitting where they are right now as it stands. Move up a couple spots here. All right. Raiders come in at 25, Cardinals at 24, Broncos 23, Browns, Seahawks, Saints, and Falcons, who moved up 5 spots after beating the 49ers in a pretty big surprise. I think between them and the Seahawks, you know, jumping up quite a few spots, I think those are a couple big surprises this week. Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, they're surprises, but they deserve it. I mean, Craig, who was it? Remind me. Someone, when we did our preseason thing, a few of us had the Falcons only winning 1 game.
Yes, we had them. I think I had them no more than 3 wins, so they've already done that. But
right,
we were talking about just before you came on that, you know, that just kind of goes to show that there's a lot of hope there, that a lot of people were writing them off as being one of the worst teams in the NFL this year, and not only did they hang tough with Brady and the Bucs, you know, look at that game however you will, a game that they should have and could have won, and then they turn around, and then this last week, they beat the 49ers, a team that had been showing with Jimmy Garoppolo back at quarterback that they've been showing to be very strong again, and then the Falcons, they take them down. It was very impressive.
Yep. I agree with that.
I think a big surprise, Pride's going to jump on his other, he looks like he's frozen. Pride is frozen, but he's coming back.
Weird.
There he is. I think one of the bigger surprises through 6 weeks right now is the Cardinals being 2-4 for a lot of people. You know, we mentioned DeAndre Hopkins is coming back next week, but them being 2-4 through 6 weeks, it's definitely a surprise, I think, to a lot close to the Cardinals organization.
Yeah. I expect them that. I thought 3-3 was more likely, but
right.
I mean, 2-4. Granted, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm not panicking because again, you went these 6 games without D-Hop. And on top of that, Hollywood Brown has been pretty solid for them, and now they're getting Robbie Anderson. So I feel like Ray, Robbie Anderson is not number 1. He's not a number 1.
Doesn't need to be.
But exactly, because you have someone in D-Hop who's proven he could be a number 1. And if D-Hop struggles, who is he going to go to? He's going to turn to Hollywood. Honestly, Robbie Anderson's just fighting. Him and AJ Green are going to be the one fighting for touches, to be honest.
Yep.
I think Robbie Anderson is just in to replace AJ Green. That's just me. And having Robbie Anderson as your third is not bad.
And that's where we were talking about he kind of should be, is that he's definitely not number 1. You've seen some flashes of what he can be, but he's not consistent enough to be a number 1, doesn't have that skill set. But he's a great slot receiver. He's a great guy that can be the, you know, number 2, number 3 guy in that offense. And having Hopkins, having Hollywood Brown, who's another speed threat, you just need guys to get free. And Kyler Murray's he's going to scramble around and chuck it deep. And there you go. You got a couple options to go look for.
You wanted to say something, Ray?
No, because with DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to make everybody better when he comes back anyway, because he's going to get all the coverage. They're going to have to game plan for him now. First 6 weeks, they didn't have to game plan for him. Now, from 7 weeks on, they're going to have to game plan for him. And you can't let DeAndre Hopkins, you can't put him one-on-one with somebody. You know, the defensive coordinator is going to have to roll the safety over there. That's going to leave other people hand. And the only thing bad about Robbie Anderson is his attitude. It's just he's good on the field, everything else, but he has that problem that if he doesn't get his way or something, he's just gonna beat out. But when you got the tangible of DeAndre Hopkins and the hot will he is and the good leadership he is, he might keep him in check. So it might end up being a good move by the Cardinals at the end.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about Robbie. I get it. The only pushback I'm gonna give you is if you played in Carolina, would you be happy?
Right.
So like that's why I give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean?
But I wouldn't be happy, but I wouldn't display my attitude out in the middle of everybody to see. I would have done that in private, you know, not in front of the whole entire world and national television.
I mean, but it's like what he's been in the league, 5 years now? Robbie Anderson?
Roughly. Yeah. I think it's a little bit longer than
6
that.
years. Like
feels like he's been in the league forever.
Honestly, like he looks like it too. He looks like a haggard veteran. He looks haggard. That's what Carolina does to you, man. Like Carolina makes you haggard. But like I don't know. I feel like maybe he has tried, and to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, Matt Rule. I mean, okay, Matt Rule. All right. So let's give you know.
I'll give you that because Matt Rule should have never went to the NFL.
Oh my God! Yeah. I think at best, I look at him as an offensive coordinator who should be next to an Andy Reid, next to a Bill Belichick, next to a guy who, when he says something dumb, will look at him and say, "Shut up, go to your corner." That's where Matt Rule needs to be. He needs to be with someone who will look at him and be like, say it again. I want you to repeat what you just said. Go look in the mirror, repeat what you just said, and then I dare you to come back to me. Like, that's really what he needs. Because Matt Rule, with no safety net, Matt Rule making all the calls, bro.
And that's the hard part. And then to your point, I think that making that jump from college to the NFL, we've talked about it a few times in different capacities on this show, that jump from college to NFL, it's a way different game. And when you got somebody who's never been even a coordinator in the NFL and they've just been a college head coach, that's a big jump. That's a big step. And it's very challenging to be successful as a head coach in the NFL when you haven't had any experience knowing kind of what the NFL culture is like, what the front offices, the locker rooms are like. So I think it's a big step, and Matt Rule just shown again that college coaches, unless you've had some coordinating experience, it's a big struggle to be successful. But
yeah.
All right, next crop, we're just getting into the getting next to the top 10 here. Rams, Ravens, Dolphins, Colts, Packers, Niners, Bucks. I think a few of these teams have dropped a lot. Obviously, the Ravens is a big disappointment. Their defense finally is kind of starting to play well, but that offense this weekend did not show up. They weren't very consistent. But look at what the Giants were able to do and force Lamar to make some tough decisions. They forced fumbles a few times. Yeah, like play quarterback. The Dolphins obviously losing Tua. We kind of touched on that a few minutes ago already. Losing Tua, but I mean, Bridgewater still looked really good on paper. There's just a lot the Dolphins still have to figure out. I think the Packers and the Niners, we mentioned those are big disappointments this weekend, and the Bucks throw them in that too, because those are all games that all three of those teams were supposed to win, and they all lost.
Well, not the Packers. Not the Packers. No.
Well, the Packers against the Jets, I would say, coming into that week, you would think that at home, having won 15 straight at home, the Jets, they're still showing some consistency concerns. So I think that's probably what goes into that. And it's Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, and they've shown some weakness at other parts of their offense, but they've still been able to keep it together.
Did you read the comment they put on there? They have a lot of issues. Aaron Rodgers is one of them right now. They can't score. The defense has run game issues. That's the Green Bay Packers right there.
Yeah,
and they've shown that all year. They can't stop the run.
And I was about to say, that's the bad part. And then if you look over on the offensive side of the ball, not only are they struggling really in the passing game, obviously, but they're also struggling in the run game. And it's weird because they have, in my opinion, arguably 2 top 15 running backs. And it's weird that it's like one game they don't run the ball. And then when they want to run the ball, they force A.J. Dillon to run the ball 15 times in a row. Then they go to Aaron Jones and go, all right, you get to run the ball 32 times in a row. And it's like, it's weird, man. It's like now we're seeing Matt LaFleur. And I've been asking this for a while. Is Matt LaFleur really good? Is he really good? Because you have 2 top 15 running backs, and now when you need to use them, you're making them look bad right now. So that's kind of my question for Matt LaFleur. I mean, maybe in time he'll kind of get it back together and whatnot. Again, this is for you, Ray. Tua Tagovailoa. That man went down and Miami's a mess.
Yeah,
don't worry. Superman's on the way. Don't worry. He's coming.
But you signed with him? You want to sign with him?
Yeah. Listen, there's only one quarterback in the NFL I'll take over him right now. I mean, no, 2. There's 2 quarterbacks I'll take over Tua Tagovailoa. That's Michael McCorkle-Jones and Bailey Goddang Zappi. That kid is a stud. Okay, that's my quarterback until Mac Jones comes back. But I when Tua comes back, I do expect the Dolphins to be fine. I mean, them in the middle of the package makes sense, because and then the other quarterbacks, Skylar, I forgot his last name.
Thompson.
Skylar Thompson. He started, and then I guess there was a cut or something like that on his throwing hand or something like that had him out to put Teddy Bridgewater in yesterday or on Sunday. So hopefully he's fine. The Niners dropping, they deserved it. I mean, I understand their defense was banged up. I get it. But that doesn't excuse a lot of what happened on the offensive side of the ball, where there was a lot of opportunities they could have scored. And for whatever reason, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo overthrowing or Debo, for some reason, missing, like when every time they do those little trick plays with Debo, when Debo has the ball, he can find the hole. My guy was like Trent Richardson. He was running into the defense like for some unknown reason, and then Brandon Ayuk was like, 1 minute they're looking for him to be the number 1 receiver. And then I guess Kyle Shanahan will get mad at him again. And then there'll be plays where he's wide open. Jimmy G sees him and then he's like, I'm not allowed to throw at you. Sorry. And then he'll look away. So they deserve that. Definitely. The Bucks, man, as much as it pains me to say, they'll make the playoffs. They'll probably win the division. They're no threat at all as of now. It's insane that like them and the Rams are, without a shadow of a doubt, have to be the 2 biggest disappointments.
Is Father Time catching up with Tom Brady now?
I think it's a combination of, I think yes, but I also think that with all the injuries that's been going on in Tampa, they're looking at Tom and they're saying, Tom, you have to carry us. Tom Brady is in his career now where he could put up MVP caliber numbers, don't get it wrong. But in terms of putting a roster on his back and carrying you to the promised land, you can't expect that from age 97-year-old Tom Brady. You can't expect that from him anymore.
Because he's past his prime. He's out of his prime.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
So now when you're out of your prime, you can't be the force, a focal point of carrying the team on your back because age has got a limit on it. I mean, I'm 50 years old myself, and I can see my age fans. I mean, I can't play no more sports. Only sports I can play is golf. I'm taking
Ray,
the old man sport. That's the only thing I can do now is play golf.
Ray, how old are you again?
I'm 50, but I had 13 knee operations. I have 14 shoulder contusions that I need to get done. I got a deteriorating back disc in my back. I got problems with my stomach area that the doctors can't figure out what's causing it. So
you're half man, half machine.
Yeah,
he's $1 million man.
I'm more like, hey, by the time to go hit the, I get ready to go. Next thing you know, I'm sitting in the freaking hospital trying to figure out what's wrong with me.
So basically, Russell Wilson is playing as if he has your body.
Yeah.
I love Russ, but you got to get it, bro. You got to get it.
For Russ, you can't blame it all. You got to blame some of them on Hackett too, man. Hackett's play calling too.
I know you guys touched on this, and you mind if I say my quick piece on it real quick? And then
absolutely.
Okay, cool. I think the only people who you should not blame is the defense, because I think the defense is doing everything they need to do. Offensively, Jerry Jeudy, stop being a crybaby. Like, he'll go and he have all this energy when he's like 7,000 feet away from Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson. Like, you're upset. Go to Russ. Talk to him. Say, bro, man, like, what is going on? Russ has to go to Nathaniel Hackett. And I think the ship has sailed on that. But if they want any hope to salvage this season, he's got to go to Nathaniel Hackett and punch him in his face and say, I am the captain now. Like, I run this. All decisions go through me type of thing. Because if you watch Russ play, it is very tentative. And it's almost as if he's trying to appease Nathaniel Hackett. Why are you trying to appease a guy who doesn't even know he's the head coach? Why are you doing that, Russ? So, offensively, there's a lot of people to blame. Nathaniel Hackett, in my opinion, needs to take a bulk of the blame. He has to. Because a lot of his play calls are stupid. And then there are times where, like, and I think they actually showed it yesterday. This dude is looking up. And they actually accidentally showed it. He's looking up. It's going. Russ is looking at him to get a play. He's still looking at the big screen. Still looking. Still looking. Still looking. And then Russ is just like, okay. So he calls something. And then afterwards, like, was it 7 seconds before the play? You see Nathaniel Hackett go as if he was about to call something. And it's like, what are you doing? So, but on top of that too, I got to put some blame on Russ. You got, I think it was Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton that he had wide open.
Yep.
I'm talking about if he threw, and they were in the red zone, just a flick of the wrist and boom in his hands, and he wouldn't have been touched for years. And Russ, for some reason, who is a righty, is like overly looking, almost leaning back to his left. It was so bizarre. So, like, glad I'm not a Broncos fan. I just wanted to get that out there.
I was telling Ray that I saw a meme about that. It's a collage of just Russell Wilson not seeing wide open receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's crazy. It's like, I hope year 2 Russ and Broncos better than this, man. Because I do not want to. It's gonna hurt me to call Russell Wilson washed. It's gonna hurt me. It really is. But that might be the conversation if this continues afterwards, you know? So hopefully he goes to Nathaniel Hackett and he kind of like says, look, this is what we're going to do and go from there. I hope so. But I'm afraid that they might be too late for that. I think their season could potentially be over.
Is the thing that get done at the end of the season? Are they going to fire him at the end of the season?
You have
to. Or are they just going to keep him?
Well,
that was the conversation we had. Yeah. That was the conversation we had this earlier, Pride, is that you paid all that money to Russell Wilson and you were a quarterback away. Now but you still struggle. What changes do you make? Is it you get a new coach right away? I think that would be the next step. If they finish under 500, I think Hackett's going to have to be gone already after 1 year.
Well, I'll be honest. unless they make a miraculous turnaround and make the Super Bowl, I think Nathaniel Hackett needs to be out. Because remember, they don't want Nathaniel Hackett. They got Nathaniel Hackett because I thought that would get them Aaron Rodgers. They don't have Aaron Rodgers. So now what's Nathaniel Hackett there for? I think what they probably end up doing is afterwards, they take a look at the scene, see what's going on. I know it sucks, but I know you're in the same division, but maybe they can get Eric Bieniemy to come over. Maybe Mike Tomlin gets sick of Pittsburgh and he wants out, and then maybe you can pick him up. Or Brian Flores, maybe he's done with because he's on that defensive staff of Pittsburgh. Maybe he leaves, he can go over there or something like that. I think if they can't find someone like that, they'll probably settle for Nathaniel Hackett because, I mean, the only way it could get worse is if they find Nathaniel Hackett and go get Urban Meyer. I think that's the only way that, the situation in terms of coaching can get any worse. So,
yeah, I think
because
that's
of circumstances, they might be stuck with Nathaniel Hackett for a bit.
Yeah, I think they would be. But there's a lot of great coordinators, and you mentioned a couple of those names. There's a lot of great coordinators out there that would help the Broncos, and I think be a better scenario than what they've got right now. But getting into the top 10 here, I know Pride's team making an appearance. Number 11, the New England Patriots.
We should be top 5. I can't even say
we got
this.
Up to number 5. You got the Patriots, Bengals, Chargers, Titans, Jets, Cowboys, and Giants. I think the Giants are probably the biggest surprise this season so far. 5-1, beating the Ravens. The Jets, Jets are probably up there as well. But
I mean, if you look at the power rankings, the Jets made the biggest move at 7, and then Bucks made the biggest downward spiral at 8.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Now, I was just going to say the Giants probably have to be one of the biggest shocks right now at 5-1 under first-year head coach. Yeah.
Yes. And on top of that, I mean, I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team, but watching a few Giants games, because I have to, because my fiance's stepdad is a Giants fan, so he always reminds me every time they win. They play with grit and heart.
Right.
And that's something that you haven't seen from them in a while. This is like on top of that, with a Saquon who's healthy, everyone there seem happy, lively. Even when they're down, they're always picking each other up and saying, "Yo, we got this. We're fine." Like that's I honestly.
It's because of the head coach. The head coach making a difference.
A huge difference, without a shadow of a doubt.
And I think too, the Giants were missing with Barkley was out, and then they were missing the discipline by the head coach. I mean, Judge didn't have the head coach; he didn't have no freaking discipline whatsoever with the team. This guy here, they said that he went into the locker room, and they were joking around when he first got there. He stopped that completely and said, "Hey, look, you coming here to perform. You coming to work. You coming to do what I need you to do. If you do what I need you to do, then we can have fun." And that's what he put it at. I think that's what the team adapted. I mean, even Daniel Jones is playing good.
Man, and I've said it for my boy Daniel Jones out here nickel and diamond these bleeps. All right. So my boy, that's another one of my boys I was rocking deep with. I was in the trenches with him, bro. So I was throwing that out there. I do think the Bengals, I think the Bengals are too high. I think their inconsistency needs to drop them a little bit. Because there were a few games that they sold because of, I don't know what to call it. So I'm just gonna say stupidity. Now, whether it's stupidity on the offense, defense, line, coaching, I don't know. But there's stupidity somewhere. And honestly, I think that inconsistency should have them down a little bit right now. I would have the Jets at 6. Because if you're not saying that the Giants are the biggest surprise, the Jets have to be right there too. It's insane how New York all of a sudden knows how to play football, and now I'm kind of tight. So, Mac Jones, brother, come quick, save us from the depression of being, having a worse record than the Jets. But yeah, the Chargers, I would put the Chargers a little lower too. just very sloppy that I haven't been liking. Shout out to Ryan Tannehill, keeping the Titans. Without Ryan Tannehill, the Titans would be in a downward spiral. So, top 10 in the rankings, like he's a top 10 quarterback.
I think that's a little bit of a surprise is the fact that how rough the AFC South has looked. The Titans are still sitting at the top of that division, 3-2, and they have a chance this coming weekend, to beat the Colts for the second time and take a stranglehold on that division again.
It really would, unless they kind of, fumble it later. They really would have. They beat the Colts. They would have the closest thing to a stranglehold you could have without it being a stranglehold on that division. Like, You would almost virtually have it. So, again, as long as they don't sell the rest, but
right. Well, getting into that top 5, we know the Giants are 5. Then there's the Chiefs, the Vikings, the Bills, and number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles, the only undefeated team left. Out of this, I don't think we're all very surprised at the top 4, top 5, especially through 6 weeks.
Really?
I
guess I'm gonna be that guy. I'm honestly surprised the Vikings were 3. I'm not even trying to be disrespectful, but
yeah, I know it hasn't looked. They've been one of the teams. I think if any of the top 4 teams, I'm not going to say the Giants because they're the big surprise. Like those are people weren't expecting. But out of the top 4 teams, the fact that the Vikings are 5-1 and in that conversation, they haven't done it with high-powered offense, pretty wins, stuff like that. But they've just been finding ways to win games.
Right.
And I said this at the beginning of the season. The Vikings are primed to win the NFC North because the Packers are going to take a step back. The Lions are a big wild card, and we knew the Bears weren't going to be great. So it literally just leaves the Vikings by default. But the fact that they're 5-1 through 6 weeks is a bit surprising. But I'm not super surprised they're in the top 5 at all.
Honestly, I thought of all the teams out there, I thought the Vikings would be left out. I genuinely did. I'm actually surprised that they actually have them. I'm surprised that they actually have them over the Chiefs too, because the whole Patrick Mahomes. I hate him so much. Like, I hope he wakes up and he got a full tank of gas, but the low gas sign comes on, just so he's worried.
Just very inconvenienced.
Inconvenience hatred. I have Steph Curry level hatred for him. That's the type of hatred. But, look, this is, again, another quarterback I've been rocking with since the beginning when we were as deep in the trenches. Oh, Jalen, give it to him. Hurts. He hurting the league right now, bro. That's my MVP. That's my MVP right there.
Jalen Hurts definitely playing
non-mistake football.
Yeah. When you don't make mistakes, that definitely helps the situation.
It's just perfect. Down to the last minute detail.
It just worked out. But yeah, they're undefeated, 6-0, beat division rival Cowboys. They've got, I think the surprising part is the fact they still only have 1 game lead, being an undefeated team in their division.
It's insane how the East became like dog water last year to all of a sudden, they're actually kind of good now. I think the only team under 500 is the Commanders, right? I think they're 2-4.
Yeah. Yes, that is the only team that's very surprising, or I should say, is under 500. So,
but also the Commanders' defense is without Chase Young too. Still,
yeah. I mean, that's definitely that is like a big thing, and I think Carson Wentz has been playing pretty good.
Yeah, he got hurt though.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll come back, and MVP Wentz will probably never be seen or heard from again. But he'll come back and be the starting quarterback. Oh man!
All right, let's move on to some Major League Baseball.
Unplayed last night.
What's that?
No one played last night. It was delayed again, and it was postponed to play today.
Yep, that game
4 o'clock.
Game 5 NLDS. Yeah, 4:07.
Yeah, because
Let me say that Eastern time.
because Frankie's mad, and then he blamed because I said the Braves are under 600, under 6 games during day games. He complained about it. Now he's got to play a day game. He's complaining about that too.
Yeah, because this is what Frankie's saying. This is what Frankie's saying. He's saying that he thinks it's rigged because then the Yankees would have less rest. Is like his point. That's kind of like his overall point. Well, first of all, go build an indoor stadium and you wouldn't have to deal with it. So shut up. That's one. And two, have less rest. Less rest for who though? Like that's y'all fault for selling or Aaron Boone for selling game 2 and game 3. Don't get mad. Don't get mad at the MLB. Get mad at Boone for leaving Wandy in there too long.
Yeah.
Don't say that MLB is rigging it. That's your manager. That is your guy who's selling like hotcakes go in the winter. Don't blame us. So I don't want to hear it, bro. Listen, every single game, and this is the only team in the one of the only teams in the MLB I will never understand. They always have the opportunity to win, but I say this all the time. They will sell you out so fast. I tell everybody, this team will never win if 2 guys are on the roster. Aaron Boone and Garrett Cole. Those 2 guys, if Garrett Cole is your best pitcher, good luck. And with Aaron Boone, double good luck. Because you could have an 8-0 lead in the 9th, Aaron Boone will find a way. He will find a way. The best thing Aaron Boone ever did for the Yankees was not be a manager. No. You know what it was? Him getting into a motorcycle wreck, getting injured to go get them A-Rod. That's the best thing this man did, and it was an accident. He didn't even mean it. He didn't even mean it. I just want to get that off my chest. Guardians in 5.
Nestor Cortez is pitching for the Yankees, the left-hander, and the right-hander Aaron Saville, right-hander for the Guardians. So that's your pitching staff for the day.
Yeah, I think.
Did you see
I think
when,
a big.
Real quick, did you see when
Brad.
Terry Francona told everyone who was pitching for the Yankees? So like the Cleveland Guardians actually were the ones who said, "Hey, this is who's pitching," right? Aaron Boone wasn't available, so he wasn't able to say anything, right? But you have to turn it in prior to the game,
right?
Like you like the player cards have to be turned in prior to the game. Okay, so on Twitter, Jeff Passan, he was like, "Oh yeah," I think it was Jeff Passan. He was like, "Oh yeah, per the Guardians, it's Nestor Cortez will get the start." Click on it, scroll through all the comments. Everyone is mad. It's rigged. Inside man. All this stuff, and I'm just like, you do know that they need the cards prior to the game, right? So I say with the NFL, like you need to have like the guys that are all active. You need to have
11 o'clock.
Yeah, you need to have. There's a deadline.
Yeah, the 11 o'clock game, the 1 o'clock games have to be turned in by 11. The 4 o'clock games have to be turned in by 12.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's all. So it's like, okay, cool. No, you got it. It's rigged. It's rigged. Jesus Christ. My bad, Craig. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think it was a little bit of a surprise to the national media as far as how well the Yankees played against the Guardians in the regular season. And the Yankees had to force this game 5. And credit to the Guardians. We knew that their pitching was going to be a strength for them, and that's shown. That's really shown. I mean, Aaron Judge is nowhere to be found.
And
outside of that home run, what he had, game 3, the one that tied it, because I think the same game he had a home run, they were up 4-2 and they lost in the 9th inning on a walk-off. Outside of that, to your point, Craig, Aaron Judge has been missing in action. Go ahead, Ray.
And you ready for this? Aaron Saville, this is his first time pitching in the postseason. Guardians going 5 deep in that pitching rotation during the playoffs. This is the 5th game. This is a new pitcher. Yep. They don't get any pitch or any repeat of the pitcher. This is that 5th starter.
Yep. And again, this is why I genuinely believe the Guardians are going to win. I really do. And for me, it just comes to the Yankees are doing dumb stuff. That's just for the reality of the situation. Every time they have a lead, they don't know what to do with it, and they ended up fumbling away. And ironically, ever since the end of the Jeter, Teixeira, A-Rod, Posada era, right? Now that none of them are there, and now they're relying on this younger generation to kind of step up. And I use younger in a, loosely, because Aaron Judge is what, 30-year-old rookie? Shut up! Like, come on,
30,
bro.
yeah.
This man is old, right? But they were now entrusted. You guys are gonna take over and go from here.
Yeah,
they can't. It's mostly because Aaron Judge is like a soft-spoken dude, so he doesn't really like doing the whole thing of like leadership or whatever. Giancarlo Stanton cannot lead he cannot lead a hungry man to a buffet. This dude, in terms of leadership, bro, is like anti-leadership. So now who you got to get your leadership from? Garrett Cole, who when he gets lit up goes, I don't like baseball, we're retired. And now you got Aaron Boone, who doesn't know what he's doing. Rumor has it, game 4, I don't know if it's true, rumor has it he went to the wrong dugout. That's how lost Aaron Boone is with this whole thing of baseball, bro. He's lost, right?
That's crazy.
So it's this weird thing where, like, when it's good, everyone's happy. It's right. This thing, and especially in the playoffs, when they hit a little adversity, everyone is looking at everyone else, like, who's going to rally us? And it's like, even if Aaron Boone were to try rallying them, I'm convinced at this point, no one in that locker room respects him. I'm convinced no one respects him in that locker room. Like, if they were allowed to, I'm pretty sure they Aaron Boone has gotten beaten up in that locker room at least twice. And I definitely think that, like, he's gotten into it with some of these guys. And I honestly think that's honestly what's going to cost them, just like it's been costing them the last 5 years. They'll have a great regular season. Come playoffs, they can never, it's always all right, who's going to lead us into the darkness? We got the torch. Who wants to take it? And then you look back, and they're all at the entrance of the cave, too scared to come in. And listen, bro. I know for a fact the Yankees aren't winning it, and I just love it. Honestly, I'm just loving it for Frankie to, because you should have seen him game 3. Woo! Oh, yo, Frankie was heated.
Yeah,
no, not right. Before he went in the group chat, before that, he was talking about throwing his jersey away. He said if the Yankees lost game 4, he was gonna boycott baseball next year. Like, he was at that walk-up, he was mad. So I mean, look, it's gonna be interesting because if Cleveland wins, this field is hilarious. Because you got the Phillies, the Padres, Astros, and Guardians. Astros have to be the clear-cut favorite.
Right.
Now, it's kind of funny because every clear-cut favorite is at home right now. So Don't be surprised if the Guardians somehow beat the Astros. Don't be surprised.
If you look at today's game, it's going to be 58 degrees, 40% humidity, and 11-mile-an-hour winds. But they don't say if the winds is blowing out or blowing in. If it's blowing in, that's going to give the Yankees probably some trouble because their power hitters ain't going to be able to put the ball out of the ballpark in these 11-mile-an-hour winds if it's coming in. If it's going out, that helps the Yankees out, and that power hitters get up in that jet stream, boom, to go, because the weather is 58 degrees. When ball gets in the jet stream and winds and low condition, not high, it's very hard to hit home runs when the weather starts coming down out of the heat.
Starts getting colder. Yep. So here's a fun fact about, regardless of today's outcome, regardless of who wins, the ALCS still starts tomorrow, no matter what.
Yep.
Right.
So you're talking about if the Guardians win, they have to travel after the game to Houston. Yep. Either way, both teams, whoever wins, you got to travel to Houston. Yep. And you've got Wednesday, Thursday, games 1 and 2 in Houston, and then you finally get an off day on Friday, and then they have the other home games, 3 in a row, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. if necessary for the final ones. But if they were able to do it, and we've seen this in the past where a team like Houston, they get a ton of rest leading into a series.
Come out
Sometimes that actually comes back to haunt teams. The Tigers had that happen to them when they made when they tried a couple of years ago. It's about a decade ago now. But
I was about to say it's when they had Verlander, they had Scherzer. I think Chris Fielder was there. They had Rick Porcello. Yeah, I remember.
It was 2014.
Yep.
That year they swept the Yankees, and then they were waiting. I forget who it was, but they had swept, and the other series went to a full 5 games, and then the Tigers came out flat, like really flat, and they got their butts handed to them
on a silver platter.
But if you look at this too, Cleveland's starting pitcher for game 1 could be their starting pitcher for game 1 in this one because he's not pitching. None of the pitchers have come back to back. Now, for the other hand, for the Yankees, Nestor Cortez has pitched in the playoffs. His ERA is 3.160. So they only got 4 pitchers. They don't have 5 pitchers. Like they don't go 5 pitchers deep like the Guardians do. So if the Guardians come out win, their starting pitcher is going to probably be fresh. They probably have him sitting in a hotel room, where he can sleep and stuff. He had 5 games off, so he's going to come in. He'll be the fresh one out of the whole bunch. But that's what you need. You need your starting pitcher to be fresh, and hopefully he can pitch a gym, and your offense can give him like a couple runs here and there. So
and that's actually a great point that Ray's bringing up, because that's honestly, this is the best case scenario for Cleveland, because if you think about it, you have enough pitchers where you can go 5 here, 5 against the series against the Yankees, and you see how short of a timetable. The winner immediately after this game, you immediately go to Houston. And now tomorrow, the Cleveland, if they end up winning, could still throw a quality pitcher and still give themselves a chance to steal game 1. They still give that with the Yankees. Let's say they end up beating Cleveland. I don't see them winning game 1. Now, granted, if the Yankees, especially since it's a 7-game series, I don't think the Yankees will care too much about losing game 1. I don't think that's something that they'll kind of lose their mind over. But again, if you're the away team and you could steal a game on the road and maybe even 2, and next thing you know, you now have home field advantage. For some teams, that goes a long, long way.
Yeah, Terry Francona already announced that Shane Bieber's not going to start. He's going to stick with Savale, but that means Bieber could start tomorrow. And if you're the Guardians, that's a great point, guys. They not only have great pitching depth, but they also have great bullpen depth. They can go to a bunch of different guys. The Yankees, on the other hand, their bullpen not only struggles, but they've had a lot of volume over this series, and they do a short rotation. So that could spell trouble. Even if the Yankees do win today, that could spell trouble for them in the ALCS, because those arms are going to get tired. You're going to have to get deeper into your bullpen just to try to get quality arms. And I think that's at some point those arms are going to tire out. And I think that's where Cleveland has the edge, not only to finish out this series, but they have the edge going into the ALCS. Their defense and their pitching hold up strong. And if you can get guys, they're not a big home run hitting team, but we've seen a bit of power this series from Cleveland. They've pulled some offense from places that they haven't done it yet. And when you can rest on the back of pitching and defense, and some of your hitters come to show up, that's a recipe for pulling off the upset. And that's what Cleveland's in line to do this series.
Yeah. And again, like, that's why me personally, if you're asking me, like, whoever wins, like, which one of these teams has the better odds of stealing game 1 from Houston, it is. Honestly, not only is it Cleveland, but I give Cleveland the better chance to beat the Astros because of that pitching, right? Like, a lot of the times when it comes to the Yankees, Yankees can score 3 runs and you can still beat them. And what I mean by that, because when I say that, a lot of people don't know what I mean, because they go, oh, well, teams usually only score 3 runs or 4 runs. What I mean by that is since they're a home run team, How isn't it odd that a power heavy team that hits a lot of home runs only puts 3 runs up on the board? Because they don't believe in contact. They don't believe in that. They don't believe in the just slap the ball, go get a single, and then we'll go from there. They don't believe in that. They want to get all the runs in through home runs, which is fine. You can go ahead and get 3-4 home runs. The sad part about it, they're solos. So who cares? Because you're only putting 1 run up on the board, which at the end isn't really doing you much, especially a lot of the times when Aaron Judge was hitting his home runs, they were losing. Why? Because he would hit the home run and it would be great, and they would lose 2-1. They would lose 3-2 because they didn't have anyone on base.
Yeah, because sometimes he comes up with bases empty, he hits a home run, and you're only getting 1 run for that guy. But 2, I mean, the Yankees, if you look at 2, you could pitch Aaron Judge if you get down low in the strike zone, because his arms and his bat is not long enough to get them low pitches, and that's why he has a high strike zone. So if pitchers can keep the ball down low on him, you really have stopped his momentum and getting that power. Then you're turning him into a base contact hitter, which basically he can't do because he can't go to all the fields. He has trouble going to right field. He has trouble going to left field. He has trouble going to center field. If he's not jacking it over the yard, he has problems hitting the field, and sometimes his head goes right back to like players who can make plays, and that's what it's. I mean, if you look at some of the things, if he's not hitting home runs, he's not getting on base hardly unless he's walking. So,
yep.
And again, I don't, and that's kind of like the situation that the Yankees are in, which is why, like, that's why a lot of people are very low come playoffs for the Yankees, because if you're just gonna keep punching that home run, that's fine and all, but guess what? You know who else can get 3 runs? The same team that just focus on base to base and just can, bring those in. For example, the best way to put it, the walk-off that Cleveland got.
Yep.
I think one of them was a walk and 2 singles. Fact check me if I'm wrong. Either it was a walk and 2 singles or 3 singles. And then, whoop, right up the middle. So you do that, all of a sudden, not only are you doing that, and again, that is the blueprint to end up being the Yankees. Because like you said, the guys that they have coming out the bullpen, they can't last long. They're like me. They don't last long. No. Like there's nothing really. So it's this thing where, like, if you can get them quick and you can go in like 1 inning, you get in 3 runs, they're going to start panicking. And everyone's going to panic. Aaron Boone's going to be like, 0-0, we got this. Let me leave him in for 4 more innings. Let's go.
See, sometimes I don't even watch the baseball game. I just monitor the chat and watch Frankie just lose it. So I can tell who's winning and who's losing.
Yes.
But just watching the chat,
between Frankie and Jay.
Craig, you don't like the violent swings Frankie has when he's watching the Yankees is by far more intriguing and interesting than the game itself. It could be the best game ever, but Frankie will be like, it'll be like, let's go. Aaron just got a home run. All of a sudden, we got to train young Carlos Stanton. Then, that's right, we got it, Nestor Cortez. And all of a sudden, he's a bum. We should have never have gotten him. And it's like the violent swings are like, honestly, I just want the Yankees one day to be in a game where they score 1 run, and then the other team scores 2. Then the Yankees score 3, and the other team scores 4. I just want to see the back and forth because I feel like Frankie would like lose his mind, bro. And I want to see those messages.
Well, we're gonna find out how he feels. We'll see if he's on the show tomorrow after tonight.
Either one of 2 things. He won't be on the show. He'll be either celebrating, he celebrated too hard and he can't get up the next morning, or he just be breaking everything in his house and probably don't have a computer to get on. So,
exactly. And Ray, you literally took it because I was about to say he's not going to be on regardless. Now the reason will be determined. It'll be different depending on the results of the game. So yeah, Frankie, if you hear me, bro, I wish you anti-luck.
I wish you anti-luck. All right, and the other side. The National League, they're already done with the division series, 2 major upsets, and that brings in the NLCS of the Philadelphia Phillies and the San Diego Padres. Now, my question to you guys, which run is more surprising, the Phillies or the Padres?
Padres.
Really?
Yep.
Let me hear you out. Go ahead. I think I know where you're going with this. Let me hear you out.
Padres without the best player who got PED'd out and stuff like that. And, all that stuff. But you got to look back at the regular season. The Dodgers handled San Diego with ease. So I think the Dodgers came into this game and in this series thought, hey, we got this because we had them on ease. But San Diego got hot towards the end of the season. And when the hot teams come in, boom. And I think the rest for the Dodgers and the Braves really hurt them too, because Braves were 8 days off. And if the Braves don't play, back to back to back, they're not going to be that good. And same thing with the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers saw San Diego on their schedule, saw, hey, we playing San Diego again. We handled them in the regular season. They thought it was going to be a cakewalk. When San Diego came back and did what he did and punched them right in the mouth, I think the Dodgers didn't have no answer. Now you got the Dodgers fan, hey, they need to get Brian Roberts out of there. Even our own Jonathan Mathis even came out and said, hey, they need to throw him out of there. So does the Dodgers in that situation? So I think San Diego's runs. I don't think Phillies is, because Philly and the Braves played almost evenly during the regular season. And when Phillies came in hot, and I think the extra thing to help Philly was too, even rest his soul in peace, is they got inspiration when that pitcher in the minor league died with cancer at the age of 20 years old. You got to give out prayer to his family. I think that gave him a little bit more incentive. But talking about Pride's too situation is the Braves are also a home run hitting team. They didn't think about going contact except that one game they won, even though they got pushed back to get it into a night game, which they played better in the night game than do day game. And everybody laughed at me. What happened? The Braves lost all the day games in this series and only won that one game because it was pushed back into the night.
So for me, I'm going to say Phillies. And this is why. And by the way, I get what you're saying, because I'm not saying it's not impressive, because it's extremely impressive losing your best guy. He popped. Does anyone here watch UFC?
A little bit.
He John Jones himself.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I'm gonna tell you why I personally believe in the Phillies. You got to remember, before, the Phillies were dog water. In the beginning of the season, they were under 500, and there were talks of they got to trade Bryce Harper. Remember that way, and it seems like a lifetime ago now. Now that they're like, but way ago, they're like, they gotta blow it up, and they need a rebuild again for the 15th time. And it was all that stuff. Then Bryce Harper gets hurt. Rhys Hoskins had some injuries going on with him as well. It was this thing where it was, everyone's hurt, then they come back, and then another critical piece is hurt, then they come back, and then they end up losing a little bit, and then as soon as they start feeling comfortable again, someone gets hurt. And it was just this revolving door. Until, if we're going to be honest, the last, 15-ish games? When all of a sudden they went on this wild run that kind of, if we're going to be honest, snuck them in there. It was what? Let me make sure, because I want to make sure I ain't fibbing. Because I think it was like towards the end.
They lost in mid to late September. They lost 10 out of 13. Mm-hmm. And you thought they were out of the playoffs. They were just not. Yes. It didn't look good for Philadelphia. And then they just flipped a switch, and they got really hot. Yep. They got really hot. And, now going into even the first game against the Cardinals, as soon as you're like, oh, okay, here we go.
Yep.
But they give them credit. They came out, they beat the Cardinals. And to Ray's point, they played Atlanta well in just historically, but Atlanta's a much better team on paper this year than they were last year.
100%.
A lot of people didn't give Phillies credit. And when a lot of it kickstarted after they fired Joe Girardi. Mm-hmm. Because Joe Girardi was a big reason why they were under 500, which you were talking about.
Say that again. Because I was literally about to allude to that Joe Girardi's out, the wins are in. Because Joe Girardi, and I've said this forever, and a lot of Yankees fans got mad at me, but now they're kind of starting to see it. Joe Girardi is not a manager. He's not. He doesn't know what he's doing. What he is, he's the guy to yell at you. He yells at you. Like when you're if you're messing up, if you're not hitting the ball, he's the father that says, "Hey, it's easy. Just hit the ball." That's Joe Girardi. He doesn't tell you what to do. He doesn't say, "Look, man, you're being a little early." He doesn't tell you that. He just looks at you and says, "Go hit the ball." He's out. Wins start coming in. And on top of that, too, this is why I also give the edge to the Phillies. Yeah, the Padres lost Fernando Tatis Jr. Who do they replace him with? Who do they pick up? Who do they trade for? Oh, I don't know. Probably the best player under the age of 25 and Juan Bloody Soto. Like, you know what I mean? So Fernando, go do more PBs, kid. We're fine. We got Juan Soto here for a while, my guy. So go have fun. Double your suspension.
And I think a big surprise was when they traded for Josh Hader from Milwaukee, and he was atrocious.
Horrible.
And he even struggled to start his Padres career, but he's come on and he's started clicking. Like the pitching staff and the bullpen have finally got it. They finally got it going. And what you were referring to with the Phillies in August they went 18-11. In September they went 11-14. Mm-hmm. And you were just like, man, I don't know.
I didn't see them in the I'll be honest. I didn't see them in the playoffs. I gave them no chance against the Cardinals. I gave them a little bit of a chance against the Braves because I was like, they just beat the Cardinals. Let me be nice. But I didn't give them as much credit as they deserved. So you're talking to arguably the most anti-Phillies guy you can find that doesn't hate the franchise. Because I don't hate them. I just didn't think they were good enough to beat the Cardinals or the Braves.
What I tell you before the Braves and the Phillies series started, I was worried about the Phillies. Mm-hmm. That's why, because I knew the Braves were a home run hitting team. You don't get the home runs, you don't get that stuff. Except for that one game, the Braves played base hitting where Raleigh got a base hit, infield hit to get the runner over, and then Olsen came up with a base hit, barely got underneath the first base glove where they couldn't make a play. That's why they won that game. But then again, home run. The Phillies can hit home run. They can hit with base hitting. That last game in that series, they did it both. Home run, base hit, home run. And when see the difference with the Phillies, when they hit home runs, they got players on base. They got like three, because that 3-run homer put the game away right there in that last game.
And a lot of the anti-Braves people were saying that. Like a lot of people were saying they're like a low-rent New York Yankees because they just want that long ball. And they said the only thing that separated them is there were a couple guys who are willing to do the base-to-base thing. But even then, when you have 90% of your roster trying to chase the long ball, it does bite you because when you get it, that's fine. What good does that do? What does a solo home run do for me when there's 2 outs and the bottom of the 9th and we're down by 4?
Yeah, the Braves' problem was the all-season hit. They let a couple players go. Freeman, they tried to get back, but his douchebag agent was bought by the freaking Dodgers because the Braves offered what the Dodgers offered with $1 million exception over top of that to give him an extra $1 million. His manager his agent went back to Freeman and told him, no, the Braves lowballed it. They did $1 million under what the Dodgers is going to give you.
And what was his owner? What was his manager again?
His free agent.
No, but you call this manager something. What you call his manager?
Low ball. I call him low ball.
Douchebag.
Douchebag.
Yeah.
His agent is a douchebag because what happened was when the Dodgers.
I remember it. Yeah,
when the Dodgers came back to the Dodgers came back to the Atlanta Braves, Freeman marched into the owner's office and asked him.
This is what they're giving me.
He said, "This is after this. This is all when he signed with the Dodgers. When the Dodgers came back to play the Braves in June.
Oh, you talking about when he found out? When the owner was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he came in there and he told it. He says, "Why'd y'all really lowball? I really wanted to stay here." He said, "I didn't lowball you. Yeah. I gave you $1 million more than what the Dodgers was going to give you." He said, "No, my agent came back and told me that y'all lowballed me by $1 million."
And it's funny too because during that conversation, the owner brought out the contract.
Yeah.
The contract that they already had, and everyone who needed to sign signed. The only person left to sign was Freddie Freeman, and he put it down and said, brother, look at this here, brother. Like, take a look at this contract. I'm sliding over your way. And it's right, like, that $1 million exception that they gave him, which they were the only team who could have given that exception. Right, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. They were the only team who could have given him that $1 million exception.
Yeah, so, they gave him that, and then soon Freeman left the freaking thing. He went to a press conference crying, and he looked at his agent and says, "Get out. You're fired." They fired his agent right then and there.
Yep, not caring. His agent was like, but I was trying to do what's good for him. His agent actually came out and said he came out on like a podcast, and then he actually deleted all his social media stuff for a while because he was his logic was, I was doing the best for Freddie. He said the Braves had no direction on where they were going, and had he stayed in Atlanta, he would have been wasting his career. He said, "I understand how much." This is one of the quotes that got me, was hilarious. He said, this is not the exact quote, but this is the closest I can remember. "Freddie knows I would take a bullet for him, so him firing was just a case of optics. Him and I will reunite in a few years' time." That's what he said. And like, well, what kind of bothered me about that whole thing is, like, you did something wrong. Just hold your L. Just say, you know what? Yeah, personally, I didn't want him there. You know, I wanted him to go to LA, whatever. But he ended up not doing that, and it cost him his job, and deservedly so. Because if you're an agent and you have no trust between you and your client, that's the only thing literally keeping you there. Without that trust, you're expendable. So he deserved it.
Yeah, because Freddie wanted to stay for the Braves, and Braves wanted him to stay.
Yeah,
for his career.
Yep.
Yeah, he wanted to be that Chipper Jones who played nothing but for the Braves.
Yep, and he's probably gonna go back
eventually.
He'll go back.
Yeah, I think he will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was a pretty surprising win for the Phillies with that team.
Yes.
That team that they played against the Braves. I mean, you can make arguments either way, because here's another thing to strengthen Ray's point about which run was more surprising is the Padres beat 2 100-win teams to get to the NLCS.
Yep.
So
which I will give them credit for, and that's what I'm saying. Like, for here,
big.
Yeah, which is more surprising. I don't really think there's a wrong answer, because I think you can make a compelling argument for both. You know what I mean? Like, the Padres dominated the Dodgers, who not only who handled them in the regular season, but were the favorites to make it to the World Series again.
Yep.
And they dominated them. So I will give them I will give them all the credit that they, all the credit they deserve. Because, to be honest, man, like, especially with all the stuff they were going through, man, like, remember, not only with the Tatis Jr. thing, but when they first got Juan Soto, remember his struggles? And then everyone was saying, man, it's always something and all this stuff. So I will say this about this for the Padres. I think this is their last legitimate chance to win a championship. I think after this, I put them in the Phoenix Suns category. I said the Phoenix Suns had a 3-year window, and the peak was when they reached the finals against the Bucks. That was their peak. That was their best year. I said the year after, they would have a chance, but it wouldn't be as great, and it would be very difficult for me to see them in the finals. This right here is going to be the peak of the Padres, which is sad because you don't have, whether you think Tatis is the best or Juan Soto, regardless, one of your top 2 players you don't have. Because I think after this, I don't think it's not gonna get any easier because I don't think the Mets are gonna take a step back. I think Atlanta will still be there. I think the Cardinals are gonna take a step forward, and never mind the fact that even though the Giants were, they're a 500 ball club for stretches in the season, they were in that wild card hunt for stretches of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So that's yet another team they're gonna have to worry about. So it's gonna be very interesting to see, especially with a lot of their key pieces getting a year older. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But if the Padres don't win it this year, I think it's gonna be another long wait.
Yeah, it'll be. Well, it's going to be an exciting series no matter what. Game 1 starts tonight at 8:03 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be starting in San Diego, so it'll be at Petco Park. That's going to be on FS1, and the starting pitchers tonight, Zach Wheeler, the ace of the Phillies, and Yu Darvish for the Padres. It's a huge game because historically, MLB teams that go up 1-0 in the best of 7 series, they go on to win that series more than 64% of the time. So at home, if you're the Padres, you're riding high off this, off the last 2 series, beating back-to-back 100-win teams. This is a very important game 1, but also for the Phillies, you got to get off on the right foot. Harper and company, they've been playing phenomenal baseball over the last couple weeks. So both great stories. Like you guys said, it is going to be a fantastic series to watch. But later on today here on the All Sports All Plays Network, we've got Red Kingdom coming up just in 1 o'clock Eastern.
Ooh.
Red Kingdom's going to be at 1 o'clock Eastern with Greg and company. The Afternoon Blitz is coming on this afternoon as well. And Easy Money, all those coming up here on the All Sports All Plays Network. If you're watching today on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, or LinkedIn, you can check us out on all those platforms. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share buttons, comment away. We love interacting with everybody, hearing your takes, and answer any of the questions that y'all have about the latest news and sports that we cover here on ASAP in the morning. On YouTube, you can find us ASAP Sports Network, Facebook at All Sports All Plays, on Twitter at ASAP Network 1, and on Twitch at ASAP Network. Gentlemen, we've got to that time. It is 12 noon. And later on today, we got a couple of the playoff games we mentioned for baseball, and the NBA kicks off. We just ran out of time today to be able to talk about NBA opening night, but we'll talk about that tomorrow, as well as college football. Again, didn't really have time to cover that today, but we'll cover those each tomorrow, kind of look at the top 25, look at this, some of the games that happened last weekend, some of the games previewing this weekend as well. But we'll catch all of you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, here on ASAP in the morning. For Pride and for Ray, gentlemen, have a great Tuesday. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. Peace out.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.